been around for a long time. I work for the National Cotton Council as Vice President of Council Operations, and I'm working on the protocol with grower and brand engagement, um, as well as communications. So we welcome you today. We're going to learn a lot this morning, I hope, about the importance of brands, the protocol to brands, mills, your farming operation. We have two local leaders that are going to talk to you today. We have Jimmy Dodson and we have Dalen Hancock. We thank you for your time. They're going to talk to you about why it's important and their feelings about the protocol. Craig Brown is on the call. He's going to talk to you about enrolling. And then Sam Lithgow, who you've been hearing speak with me, is with HK Strategies. She's currently based in the UK. It's a global company that is our communications partner, extension of our staff as we roll this out. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce Jimmy Dodson, who is going to talk to you a little bit as we kick this off. Jimmy?
Thank you, Marjorie and Craig. I'm Jimmy Dodson, and I'm from South Texas near Corpus. I'm a cotton producer down here. Let me just add my welcome to all the producers that are on the call and the other industry leaders and industry members. I'm very pleased this morning to speak on behalf of the Trust Protocol and its significance to the U.S. cotton industry, and specifically to you and me as producers. I think you can agree that it's widely recognized that U.S. cotton is among the most responsibly produced cotton in the whole world. The Trust Protocol is designed to verify that claim to our customers, the people that buy our cotton. And you'll note that the Trust Protocol survey validates many of the environmental and economic production practices that you and I are already doing. It also gives a guide to us to develop new innovative practices that will improve your environmental footprint going forward. Some of you may have concerns about the time commitment or the confidentiality of any data that you may share by participating in the Trust Protocol. Let me assure you that the time commitment is only a matter of a few hours every year, and the Trust Protocol has strict confidentiality guidelines protecting the integrity of your data and mine. Nobody sees it but you. It is reported out as in the aggregate, but never individually. The Trust Protocol is a high priority project of the U.S. cotton industry, and it can only be successful if it has grower support, the support of you and I. I strongly urge you to join me in participating in the Trust Protocol. Its success is critical for our ability to sell U.S. cotton, and it will benefit your farming operation. I will be available at the end of this session to answer any questions, and I want to thank you again for your attention. I'll now turn the program back over to the NCC staff.
So, Sam, I'm going to turn this over to you now to talk about why protocol and why now.
Thanks, Marjorie, and thank you, Jimmy, too. And as actually you were saying, the US has led the way. There's been great progress made in terms of sustainable stewardship, as well as in terms of innovation and just general quality of the fiber grown in the US. And so we can argue what is going on now that makes the requirement for the protocol so intense. And it's really about evolving attitudes that are impacting our brand and retailer customer. So if we look at where that's coming from, it's coming on one side from the consumer. For about 2+ years now, there's been a small but vocal number of consumers who have spoken out about the need to better protect and preserve the planet and for consumption to follow that pattern. But over the last 2 years, that number has really grown. And in fact, the COVID times have accelerated that even further. And what we've also really seen is it's not just about talking about it now, we're really seeing consumption patterns change. So whether that's the searches for sustainable products, sustainable fashion, or whether that's actual seeing an increase in purchases. And of course, we're also seeing brands and retailers package many of their product lines and positioning them as sustainably sourced. At the other end, we're also seeing the risk of regulation. Certainly in terms of sustainability, the EU has often led the field and been first to put regulation in place. We saw what happened with plastics, particularly single-use plastics. And they have said that they are going to be looking at textiles next. It got delayed a little bit, but they've reiterated that it is going to be a real focal point. And so, of course, with regulation and particularly in the EU, brands and retailers have to report out on all of their CSR initiatives. And as a result of that, well, as a result of both the regulation on the one end and the consumers on the other, brands and retailers are finding themselves under more scrutiny than ever in terms of their supply chain and their sourcing decisions. And we're seeing these kind of lists being produced of preferred fibers, and each of those has real specific requirements that the fiber needs to meet in order to go on those lists. And without the protocol and the system that the protocol provides, the US cotton is actually at risk of being shut out of those lists and therefore not being something that brands and retailers feel comfortable sourcing, particularly as they're so concerned about making the right choice in their sourcing decisions. Which, given we know the huge and very long track record that US cotton has had around sustainable growing practices and the continued focus there around the 2025 goals and the continuous improvement program, really what the protocol is going to be doing is giving all of that infrastructure that is needed. We're going to give the data, we're going to be given the verification that we'll talk about, and all of those things are going to give the brands and retailers the confidence that they need to source, to demand, and ideally to prefer US cotton as part of their sourcing mix. And from the grower perspective, it's also going to enable us, you specifically, to really demonstrate and prove your sustainable stewardship of the land for today and for tomorrow. So I think Craig will now talk a little bit about how to join.
Yeah, thank you, Sam, and good morning to everyone. It's thank you for joining this webinar. Special thanks to Rolling Plains Cotton Growers and Lauren for helping us get the word out. So now let's talk about how practical it is and how easy it is to actually join the protocol. There are a number of benefits that we think growers can get from this, and it's not just designed to help brands and retailers, but really to help growers like yourselves sell more cotton. It's also designed for growers to improve your sustainability efforts by documenting your progress to date and by allowing you to compare your progress anonymously so that you can take additional steps to further improve year over year. The Trust Protocol also plans to serve as a marketplace for helpful insights and best practices. There are some other benefits as well that producers may derive. If you'd like, you can use the Trust Protocol logo to market your cotton. With your consent, we have the ability to recognize your operation on the Trust Protocol website as a participating grower. And then also there will be regular grower communications of Trust Protocol news and other information. We have made quite a bit of progress to date. We started really in earnest in 2019 with a pilot program where we enrolled 300 or so growers. We hope that those growers continue for the 20 crop. For 2020, we are shooting to have 1 to 1.5 million bales enrolled. And by 2025, we're targeting 50% of the US cotton crop, hopefully something over 8 million bales. Now, there are a number of requirements for participating growers. It starts with registration to become a Trust Protocol grower. It's very easy and it only takes a few steps. First, you must go to our website, www.trustuscotton.org, and register your operation by completing the Field to Market survey. That's the survey that is contained in the registration. It asks a series of questions about your operation pertaining to such things as water use, pesticide management, soil erosion management, and other categories. Give yourself some time to take the survey. We found that it takes generally anywhere from 20 to 30, maybe as much as 45 minutes to complete, depending on your operation. Finally, each participating grower also commits to continuous improvement measurements that the trust protocol has developed by working with its stakeholders. And lastly, growers agree to have their data be subject to second and third party verification. Those growers will be selected at random. It's also important to designate the gin or gens that your operation gens your cotton at. That helps us identify your area and also helps us with the process of getting your bales into the system. Equally important, if not more so, is identifying your marketer or marketers who purchase your cotton. Now, if you don't know who your marketer is at the time you're enrolled, you can always come back later once your cotton is sold and enter that operation. And I would add, if when you go to designate your marketer, if your particular merchant, whether it be independent, private merchant or cooperative, is not listed, you can have them go to the protocol website under the marketer category, merchant category, and register, and that will allow you to select them, and that's a very important part of the process. We talked about the self-assessment questionnaire. There are 9 categories, as you see here on the screen, that contain about 120 questions. We've tried to regionalize the questionnaires to fit more closely your production area. They're also separated into irrigated and non-irrigated. There are a number of choices for your answers. In every category, there are a few compliance questions that are required to be answered that I'm in compliance, and those should be fairly easy for you to discern. Then there's some multiple choice questions, such as I do now on most of my fields. I'm implementing on one or more of my fields. I will consider in the next 3 years, or it's not appropriate for my operation. And so there's really not any wrong answers to this survey. Just answer it as it best describes your operation and your practices. You will also receive some insights and best practice recommendations based off of the FieldPrint data that will provide recommendations and possible remediation tactics and strategies that can help improve your yields, sustainability performance, or create additional efficiencies in your operation. An example would be when it comes to soil conservation, the platform may recommend various soil health best practices that could improve your operation's soil health metrics over time. There are a number of examples on this topic, such as using conservation tillage, preventing soil compaction, cover crops, windbreaks, etc. These are just a few of the insights that people at the Trust Protocol will strive to share with its grower community to help make their operations more efficient and to help ensure that they can sell your cotton at a fair price. Now, with having said that, we're going to show you a short video that goes into more detail and a step-by-step process on joining the protocol. So can we have the video, please?
Hello, I'm James Fuller with the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol, and today I'm going to show you how quick and easy it is to sign up as a new grower on our website. To begin, go to any browser and type in U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol. Click on the website, and then you can go right up here to the Join Now button. Click on that. I'm going to go in as a farmer producer. Click that button, hit Continue. And this is where you include your personal information, first name, last name, mobile telephone number, and email address. And you also need to indicate how you'd like us to contact you via email, text, phone, and then hit section is going to ask a little bit about your farm. First question being how much of your farm is irrigated. For me, that's about 25%. So I'll put that in. Next, it asks me how many other crops I grow. And for us, we grow a little bit of corn. So I'll click corn and continue. Now it's going to ask me where I grow at. And that's in New Mexico. And it also asks me how many acres I grow. And I grow about 500 acres and continue. Now it asks me what county I grow in. And I'm in Chaves County. But if you operate in multiple counties, you can click multiple counties on the map and continue. This is our privacy policy. It's important that you take a time to review the privacy policy. At the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol, all of your information is held as confidential and private, and we will not share your information with other growers or anyone else outside of the organization. Once you're comfortable with that, click I agree and continue. The next step is to enter in a password that only you know. So go ahead and type that in, and you'll know you've complied with the requirements on the safety of the password when all the check marks are green. The next step is to verify your account by going to your email, looking for the email that will be sent to you by the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol, click on the verify button, and once you click on the verify button, it will redirect you to the website where you can re-enter in your password, and that will take you to the member grower dashboard. Now, we fully registered as a grower member, and we've completed the first step of becoming a formal member of the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol as a grower. Our next step is to go ahead and complete the self-assessment, and that takes about 30 to 45 minutes to complete, which brings us to the very first category of questions for the assessment, which is soil health. But as you can look down the left bar here, you see all of the questionnaire topics that we'll have to cover. Now, going back up to soil health, here are the questions that we have to address in soil health. There's a total of 10 questions, and as you can see here on the left top corner, you have a gauge. And as I answer each of these questions, I will get a green mark for each question I answer until ultimately all of these gauge items are full. And that tells me I've completed the questions in this section of assessment. So let's go ahead and begin first by the compliance questions. It's important to note that each section will have a number of compliance section questions that you have to answer in the affirmative, or you won't be able to complete the assessment. With this one on soil health, it's asking me to assure that my farm meets all conservation compliance provisions within the U.S. farm law, and as well as any other state and local requirements that might be placed on my operation. So for that, I'm going to go ahead and answer A, I'm in compliance. And then you'll notice that there are about 2 or 3 categories per each section that you'll answer for, and we're going to go now to the management planning section. And it asks me whether or not I've worked with an advisor or a mentor who has expertise in soil health to better gauge where I am on my soil health in my operation. Now, for each of the questions below compliance, we have 4 different potential answers. And this you have, I do that now for most of my fields, that's A. Or B, I am implementing this for 1 or more of my fields. Or C, I will consider this in the next 3 years. And then finally, that's not appropriate for my farming operation. And so if you notice, if you click that button, there is a drop-down box that gives you some additional options to give a little bit more clarification as to why it's not appropriate for your operation. Moving on to the second section of the assessment, tillage operations. I'm just going to answer 2 or 3 of these questions and read them out loud so you get a feel for what you're going to be asked. These are very common questions that you've answered for a number of surveys that you probably had to fill out over your time as an operator. But again, utilize conservation tillage practices such as minimum, strip, mulch, or no-till. I've done that on almost all of my farms, so I'm going to click that for all of my fields. Prevent or alleviate soil compaction through prescribed tillage operations, control traffic patterns, or by avoiding traffic where I know I have common moisture in my soil. Of course, I do that for most of my fields where I know I have some tendency to have some moisture or where I need to have prescribed traffic flows. I'm just going to go ahead and click through the rest of these questions so I can show you a few other features of the survey and the assessment tool. So again, as you notice on the top left, you can see I've gone through and I've answered every question along the bar gauge, and it shows I'm done for this section, and I can hit continue. But if you need to stop there and go on to something else and come back, you won't lose the progress you've made on the tool, and so you can begin again where you've left off. So let's go ahead and skip on down to one of the larger or the largest section, which is crop protection. And so as you can see, there's a little bit of a larger gauge here. This is probably the largest questionnaire of each assessment section. But you'll note that of those numbers, 15 questions involve compliance requirements. So I'm going ahead and I'm clicking through to show you all of the compliance questions that come under this larger section. Now let's move on to the actual topical, more quantitative recommendations that they have. And again, you'll see there are subjects. Scouting is one. Cultural practices is another. Chemical control is finally the third section, for a total of 25 questions in this particular section. I'm going to read just a few, so again, you get a feel for the types of questions you'll be asked. Do you use any plant-based measurements to help determine economic thresholds for when and how you use some of your crop protection? For that, I'm going to go ahead and say I do that for some of my operation. So again, I'm going to go ahead and complete each of these sections. So you see, as I fill these out, the gauge, completing. And you'll notice I've missed a few going backwards. I skipped over a few, so you can go back and take a look at those. The US protocol has done a little bit more data and information, or you can provide a comment if you need to have a little bit more information shared with how you've approached that cultural practice. You can add and increase a comment. You can click on review. You'll see your answers. And back to whether or not you think you answered something correctly, you can either type on this side, and this is going to show you how your answers compare to everyone else inside the platform so far and what they've completed on that question. So as you can see, I answered along with 86% of those in this same category. And if you want to just go a little bit further and validate the question and make sure you answered it correctly, you can also click on this button, the I button, which gives you a little bit more information about that question just to make sure you've answered it absolutely correctly. Congratulations, you're now a member of the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol. You've signed up, verified your information, and you've completed the self-assessment for your operations as well. There's only 2 steps that remain to complete your registration for the 2020 growing season. First, you need to go back in the dashboard and let us know who your marketing company and the gen is that you use for your farm. This is important because it enables us to begin the credit monitoring system for your credits so that we can track your credits from farm all the way through the supply chain, ultimately to the brands and retailers that purchased your cotton. Secondly, and most importantly, you must complete your field assessment before the end of the year. The field assessment tool and survey are also located on the dashboard, and we built that in conjunction with Field to Market, an organization I'm sure you've heard of before. The great benefit to completing the assessment, and again, that must include at least 10% of your full acreage as a farm for you to qualify as a grower member for this year's yields. But once you've completed that assessment, the data that will be provided to you and the tools that we have available on the dashboard will enable you to confidentially assess where you stand on these key measures compared to those in your region and the state you live in, and even nationwide where those benchmarks exist. So we're hopeful that those data points will help you drive continuous improvement, better efficiency, and higher yields, and ultimately a better profit for your product. I want to thank you again for becoming a member of the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol. Because of your efforts, we're going to build a brighter, smarter cotton future for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, James. We know that enrollment and filling out your data may take some time, but you get access to unique participant benefits such as access to peer data, to your baseline for your operation, verified year-over-year data, closer communication with your end user customer, and insights and best practices from across the industry. As you have completed putting your information into the FieldPrint calculator, you can also use your grower dashboard to produce a FieldPrint analysis report, which allows you to compare your operation with both state and national benchmarks where aggregate data is available. This is an example report that can be viewed online within the platform. The analysis can also be saved and downloaded as a PDF as well for your files and for future reference. Now we're going to show you another short video that goes into more detail on the FieldPrint calculator platform.
Congratulations. By completing the survey and the field assessment, you're now a full-fledged member of the 2020 growing season with the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol. Thanks for joining us. As we mentioned, there's a number of benefits and a few tools available to you on our dashboard because of our partnership with Field to Market that will help you gain a better understanding as to where you stand today with regard to these key sustainability measures we're tracking as an organization. So why don't I take you to the dashboard and show you how to use those tools to benefit your operation. From your dashboard on the left-hand side menu, go ahead and scroll down to the FieldPrint analysis and click that, which will lead you to the field analysis you conducted. I did South Trace in Chaves County, 171 acres. On the left-hand side, you'll see the FieldPrint questionnaire, which you can click and have for your files. But on the right-hand side, you see the spider diagram. Go ahead and click that. Because of our partnership with Field to Market, you as a grower operator can now compare your benchmark data that you submitted on key sustainability measures with those of growers across the nation. From land use, soil conservation, soil carbon, irrigation water use, energy use, greenhouse gas emissions, water quality, and biodiversity. And as you can see from the key, the state benchmark data are the green squares, and the national benchmark data are the triangles. The blue is where you perform as an organization compared to those benchmarks. And the key you want to recognize is the closer into the center of the circle you are, the better you're performing as an organization. You'll also notice that with some of the measures, such as biodiversity and water quality, there are not any state or national benchmarks because that's not an area that the Field to Market team has collected data on so far. However, we're working with them to include that in future surveys going forward so that we can compare performance there as well. Now, what the field analysis has done is they've taken the inputs that you've provided and they've put them on a score metric between 1 and 100, with 100 being on the far outside of the spider web and 0 or 1 being in the very center. So as I mentioned, the closer in you can get your score, the better off your performance is. We're hopeful this tool will be an enabler to drive continuous improvement in your operations, which ultimately mean a better crop and higher profits. So once you've completed your assessment, the field analysis should pop up on your dashboard in about 5 minutes after it self-populates from the portal. We hope that you'll find this tool valuable as you look to continuously improve against these sustainability measures over the years to come. I hope this brief tutorial is helpful, and again, if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to email one of us at the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol. We'll be glad to give you a call and walk you through the tool and how it can be used to benefit your operations. Thanks.
Thank you, James. Again, I hope you found these videos helpful and will ease your process in getting into the protocol. As we mentioned, 2020 is the crop year that we're trying to ramp up our participation, your participation in the protocol. We believe the self-assessment takes about 30 to 45 minutes to complete. The field to market data tool takes anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes to enter a field. We have a goal of somewhere between 500 to 750 growers for enrollment in the 2020 crop. I will report to you that the good news is, and Marjorie can give me an updated number maybe. Right now we're over 500 growers enrolled in the 2020 crop into the protocol at various stages of completion of their application. So we're encouraged by that, but we need more. And more importantly, this needs to be a year-to-year process. This is not a one and done process. But again, the time commitment we believe is not that great, and the benefits we think certainly outweigh the time commitment. So now, having said that, I'm pleased to turn the program over to Dalen Hancock. Dalen is one of the 4 producer directors who serve on the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol Board of Directors. Dalen.
Thanks, Craig. Dalen Hancock. I'm a 4th generation cotton farmer from my farm in the Lubbock, Texas region. Finishing up this will be my 40th crop. So, as many of you, I've seen a lot of change in my time, and change is inevitable. For us to compete and stay in business today, we've got to change with the times. But, I'm pleased to be one of the 4 who serve on the Trust Protocol Board of Directors, the 4 producers. I also, agreed to be part of this important initiative because I'm convinced it's critically important for our industry, and also, to my farming operation, just looking for a path forward as far as, sustainability and change and the things that are out there today. I've been involved in the development of the Trust Protocol concept, its implementation, and I believe that we're definitely on the right path. First and most important, the Trust Protocol is a U.S. cotton industry initiative versus other programs that are globally based. Second, our global brands and retailers, they're placing great significance on environmental sustainability of their fiber purchases. The Trust Protocol has gained the credibility of these customers as a verifiable process that will validate their current perception of U.S. cotton as being environmentally, socially, and economically responsibly produced. U.S. cotton cannot afford to, let off brands and retailers list or be off the list of sustainable fibers. That would mean lost sales. You know, as Jimmy stated, it's not a big commitment of time by producers, and I believe that it's definitely well worth the effort. Let me reemphasize the point that Jimmy made. The trust protocol can only be successful if we as producers participate. It will not only benefit our industry, but I feel like it will definitely benefit your farming operation. You know, I have been part of the already done the third-party verification process in the pilot project, but got to be part of that process and see how it worked. Having, the verifier come to my farm, basically just check the boxes of the questions that I had already answered of what I was doing, stuff that I've been doing, every day, just part of my operation. And then also I gleaned a lot of just ideas, different things that I'd say suggestions. He might just mention something that someone else was doing in their rotation process, how they were farming, just some things that it helped kind of the light go off with me that, hey, this might be something that I'd want to look at. And, one thing I would like to say most of all, I think for anybody, just go into this open-minded. Like I said, I've been doing this. This is my 40th crop, 4th generation. So being one of the gray-haired guys out there, it's not easy sometimes change and technology the way it is today, but it's just part of our future. It's the way it is. And I think this is going to be just like the first time that you went into the FSA office, maybe you went to the NRCS office to sign up for something for the first time. I remember the first time I ever went in for an ag loan packet, to do my ag loan. It was all a little intimidating, but as time went on, it becomes second nature. It's just something we do and something we have to do to conduct business today. So with that, I would say, be sure if you run into problems or there's something you're, on signing up, reach out to different folks that are available. I know like here in our region here, PCCA, Bailey Nesbitt is someone with that they've designated that she's helped a lot of people sign up, or the council, through your different sources. Just be sure and reach out, and I guarantee you they'll be glad to help. I'm available, for anything to try to help this program go forward, and then also questions at the end. But with that, I'd like to turn it back over to the NCC staff.
Thank you so much, Dalen, for your comments. They're very insightful, and having been involved with this program since the beginning, I hope people will take your comments to heart. I wanted to give you a little bit of an update. We do have over 500 growers enrolled. We have over 70 mills. We just had the Gap. We announced yesterday that the Gap, a major brand, has enrolled. We have another set of brands that are enrolled. You can see them on the website. We're also working with some big names, IKEA and Amazon and others as well, that we hope to have them come on board. If not by the end of the year, then at the beginning of the next year. With that, I will say, let's open it for questions. I'm sure you have plenty, and we are happy to answer them today or any time after today, but please ask them now if you would like.